Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of quickmail.io.
Hey, and this is Jack, Chief Lead Generation Officer at salesspread.com. Today we have a rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Rapid
Oh, that
fire.
was
That's
bad.
right.
I'm
It's
sorry.
always bad.
This is me. This is me on this one. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we've got 11 questions that we're going to fly through. But first, we're going to fly through a word from our sponsors. Here's mine. Go to salesspread.com/contact if you want one lead per day. Jeremy, go ahead.
Go to quickmail.io if you want the best outreach automated email software solution with high deliverability. Oh man,
Nailed it.
Terrible.
Nailed it. Okay, rapid fire. We begin with question 1. How can I manage replies when using multiple inboxes for my campaign? I'm talking about inbox rotation. Jeremy, hit us.
Yeah, so basically having multiple inboxes that you create purely for cold outreach, and now you end up with like 10 inboxes and you want to, don't have to manage those 10 inboxes. What most people do is they basically have an auto forward to their main inbox, and that's when they deliver stuff, when they check their stuff. In QuickMail, you could also go and do your to-dos because we sort of aggregate all those inboxes into one. But and some people use Front App as well, where they register all their inbox and they only have like one inbox global. So you have a few solutions around to go, whatever works for you and your team, I would say.
Okay. Rapid fire follow-up question. Best practice. We haven't done this far. Best practice.
Oh, yeah.
Respond with the send email at all times. I think so. That makes it a little bit. Well, if you send with inbox 3,
yeah.
Do you also write back to them with email 3? Yes, right?
Yes, in QuickMail, but you don't necessarily have to. Like, you could definitely, like, for example, my outreach inbox is jeremy@quickmail.com. People reply to the .com, but I reply from the .io.
Yeah.
And people barely just notice
Say
or even care.
Nothing. Yeah. I think that's odd, but
it's not a Sarah John type of reply, right? So that may also be the sort of thing.
Yes.
Be careful.
Yeah, a lot of people will say nothing even if you do that. Okay, next question. How long should I warm up my domain? Jeremy, let me take the first crack at this.
Oh, please.
I don't think you should think about it like that. I think it should be you warm up your domain as a best practice, and that warm up period doesn't go away. It is working for you while you are running your campaigns to just help with your deliverability and your center reputation.
Yeah.
Right. So in a word, don't end it.
That's a very good point. People will just ask you, and we get this question constantly. Even for, do us a favor, watch episode 217. How agency got 20% more open rates. It's through, the auto warmer, and we go through the entire auto warmer. We explain you everything. But before you send the sort of like first call email campaign type of thing, give yourself at least 2 weeks. 2 weeks to 4 weeks is a good range. So do that.
There you go. Okay, episode 217. Got it. Next question. How many campaigns should I have running at the same time? Jeremy, let me take a crack at this.
Please.
I think it depends how risky your outreach is, meaning how unsure or untested are your campaign ideas. The refined campaigns can get away with happily running one very successful campaign with results. If you're brand new and you're really not sure what your market is going to respond to, make 3 very different campaigns and see which one you need to double down on and which ones you need to remove.
That's a great point.
Eggs in a basket.
Yeah. I will probably bring 3 points to this one. The first one is market size. If you have a very small market, then you probably don't want to have like 10 different campaigns at the same time. Equally, if you don't have enough manpower or resources in your company to look after each campaign individually to make sure they all hit their mark, then again, there's no point having so many. And then the last one, I would say, if you don't have that many angles to pitch your offering, then what the hell are you doing with like plenty of campaigns anyway?
I have to imagine there's never been a campaign I couldn't come up with several angles. Isn't that what?
Yeah, but maybe that's the number you got.
Could be. Yeah. Right. The number of what? The number of different campaigns you're saying?
Yeah. Is that the question? Like, how many does it make sense? Well, as many as you can find real good angle, right? I would say.
Yeah, this is for another cast, but then you might have a conversation about what becomes a follow-up email to the same campaign and what is its own standalone. I'm thinking campaigns would be different list, different message, right? That's for sure different campaigns. If you have same list, different message, you could simplify things by throwing in follow-ups, but let's revisit this if we think it's worth it. If you like the conversation and you want us to do a deep dive on follow-ups versus standalone campaign, reach us at podcast@quickmail.io. Let us know and we will do it. Next question, Jeremy, is it worth filling out a company contact page if I can't find the founder's email?
You can answer this one.
What do you think?
Yeah, okay. I think you can answer this one better than me.
So,
because you did it.
Are you? Yeah, that's true. I have done this. One instance, Jeremy and I were setting up some meetings for SaaS founders in Tokyo, and because of some email regulation in Japan, we had no choice but to use contact forms. Gosh, I'll never understand Japan. But the short of it is, it did work. But my advice is, if you're going to be taking the trouble to do this, it can't be automated. So you're going to have to put a VA on it. Just make sure that the founder is actually going to be checking that page. If it's a big company, your founder will not be checking it. So it's probably a waste of time. Anything to add there?
Nope. Brilliant.
Okay.
Nailed it.
What about this? How many campaigns should I have running? Oh my goodness. Next.
We did it.
How many touches? We did it. Next question. How many touches should I use for a LinkedIn message campaign?
Ooh, that's on you, right?
Here's my decision here. So a LinkedIn campaign by nature will have an invite message. That's one touch. And then you can have follow-ups on the messaging. I would do no less than 3 follow-ups once somebody accepts your connection invite request. But then you could do a 4th touch on a follow-up, which would bring you to 4 touches and an invite. That's 5. You could also engage with the person by liking posts, commenting on their LinkedIn feed. But in all honesty, that's probably not the best place to spend your time. If you can't get them to respond after 4 follow-ups and them accepting your invite, timing's off, or they're off, or they just don't like what you've written. So let's call it 5.
Yeah, I got a different take on this one. After talking to some of my clients who do that, they actually do the invite, and when it's accepted, they send one message telling them they're gonna switch to email because LinkedIn inbox is absolutely rubbish and it's difficult to handle or whatever. And most of the people actually don't like their inbox in LinkedIn, and they have more chances of getting replies by email. So obviously, if you ask a haircut, if you ask a hairdresser, they will tell you, you need a new haircut. But, I would say, even for I have like cold email software, I would say move to cold email, because the conversation is much easier that way than in LinkedIn.
And I have to say, like, if you do that, you better have good data to back that up. That's not what I'm seeing. Why? Because the person that accepts your invite, yes, LinkedIn's inbox is a true mess, but that person has indicated they are a real user of the platform by accepting your invite. So you now have access to a channel that they're involved with and engaged with. So I don't see any reason to move unless data tells you otherwise. And if you've got stats, I would love to see it. Check us out. Send it to podcast@quickmail.io. What do you got?
Okay, we need to revisit that.
Yeah. Okay. So next question. What about some other ways to get intent data? Let's say you don't want to pay that hefty, what is it, $5,000 a month for Zoom info or whatever they're charging these days.
You get a good friend
what
who
else
has
can
the
you
login
do?
and password.
Okay, there's option 1, and that's a perfectly acceptable answer for this question.
Absolutely.
What are some options? Look at some other sources for intent. So all intent data really means is who in your market is currently searching or clicking on ads that relate to your product or service. That's all it is. So you can find that information elsewhere, such as if you offer fractional CMO service, you may look at Indeed.com to find companies that are hiring CMOs. Maybe that is your intent data, that you can find companies that know they need to put money towards bringing in a CMO. You can also use LinkedIn groups. they're still a thing. I don't know how, but there's a lot of very niche groups that have tens of thousands of people in there. So what's kind of fun is you can say, all right, show me all the founders that are in, let's say, marketing, advertising, that are in groups around like legal issues, like agency law, best practice, defending your client, whatever. Now you kind of have a hint at which marketing founders are looking up. Maybe they are ripe for some legal advice. I don't know, but another alternative source for intent data. Jeremy, you like it? Any addition?
I love it. Let me just think a second. Yeah,
there's more like that, isn't there?
Yeah, a good one was that I've seen recently, and I'm saying, oh man, it's genius. Whenever they see a news on the newspaper or whatever, the news that says that one company is forcing their employees to come back after letting them go remote, then they suddenly contact all of their employees, telling like, hey, we got a great offer for a remote job. Are you interested? I mean, it's like,
wow,
pure gold. I love it.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, love it. We've got 4 more. Let's count it down. Number 4, what do you think of tripwire offers to get more replies? Like instead of going for the big offer or the big ask, maybe we can put this into concrete terms. Are we saying instead of asking, will you speak at my next conference, we are saying, are you open to speaking engagements next year? Do I have that right, or
so
totally different?
Here's how I picture the question. It's basically you have a product that is, tens of thousands of dollars, a year. But you actually try to sort of like, instead of pitching straight away the big thing, how about you actually pitch the smaller thing, right? Like a smaller product or smaller thing that will get them one fit into your ecosystem type of things.
Interesting. I've got it. So like the podcast invite and then upsell, right? Like we did an episode on using podcast as a lead generation source, and that then, right?
Yeah, that could work.
I mean, it has worked, right?
That's right.
So that technically is like a tripwire. Come on my show.
Tripwire is more like they have to pay first. But I'm seeing like, if you want, people to pay and then go through all the efforts, then you will just do it with the big offer, right? I think it's much better to do a downsell than it is to do a tripwire and then upsell. I would say.
Yeah. I think with cold email, you just want to arrive at the biggest challenge that prospect is dealing with. That's your best hope for a reply.
Yeah, your journey will be so much longer. Otherwise, your sales cycle will be longer. And it's like,
you better have like a perfect upsell close rate, or else it's probably not worth it. Okay, 3, and we're counting down. Remember? Okay, what's the best? What's the best place to hire a VA to help me manage my campaigns, and how much should I pay them? Okay, Jeremy.
I like it. Can I say? Okay, so. There are a few things, of course, you probably heard about like Upwork and stuff like that. So I would definitely check out those places. There's a few more things that you can do. You can go to, for example, if local jobs, and every sort of country's got their own one, more or less. So you got onlinejobs.ph, for Philippines. Then the next thing you will check is probably the Facebook groups. Like that happens also in our own group, by the way. People are, asking for VAs, or like some VAs are on our group, and some, like, I would say, think of the tool you're using. Of course, like I can say QuickMail, but you could be like another tool, and then go and ask people who are freelancer or contractor in those groups as well, if they're interested. So that would be some sort of like the easy thing. In terms of money, I don't know. What would you pay them, Jack?
Depends where they're located, Jeremy. Right?
Yeah, on the role.
Exactly, and their experience and all that. I would suggest, I mean, one thing we haven't mentioned is getting referrals from your existing team members. That's my favorite place to go for new hire, right? And then if you do that, you know what you're paying your existing team. You have a very close estimate for what the person they bring you will be looking for. In fact, a lot of times that's kind of the pitch. It's like, hey, do you want to work for my company? This is what they're paying, and then there's an interview. So in terms of payment, I don't know. I mean, can you give me like a Are we talking
I
about
can give you
lowest of the low level
things. I would say between $4 and $10 for this sort of like low level stuff that you can get. Like it could be, compiling data,
meaning
managing.
mostly grammatically correct English, right? If it's
Could
perfect
be.
grammar, you're going to pay more.
That's right. But I would say like data
yeah.
entry, data collection, search, compiling results and stats and stuff like that. So those sort of things.
Yeah.
I think depending, you could between $4 and $6 and maybe 8 or 10 if you want someone a bit more, senior stuff. That's what I would say.
Yeah. And before we leave the question, consider what is it worth to you to have a more competent assistant compared to saving a couple bucks. My experience is that, it's just worth it to, it's just, typically it's worth what you pay. Few exceptions, but.
I agree. I'd say for me, the ideal framework, like if I save you 2 hours, what you're going to do with those 2 hours? Are you going to bring more value to the business or less? And if you can't bring more value, then keep doing it. It's because you're not quite there yet. But if you can bring more value, then go ahead.
Neat. Love it. Okay, 2 more questions remaining. We got, what's the largest number of rotating inboxes that makes sense to set up? And can you overdo this, Jeremy?
It's hard to say. We have some very big accounts in terms of inboxes and some slow one. The typical things that we see is probably 2-3 domains, I would say, as an average type of range for most outreach type of things.
So we have our average, but what's the largest that makes sense?
I don't know. I think it depends on the size. Okay, it depends on the size of your. The reality is, it depends on the size of your market and how fast you want to go through it. It's just simple as that.
Or your volume.
Yeah.
Right. Because okay. I wish there was a math equation where it's like if you want to reach out to 1,000 people per X,
then you got it.
Right.
It's 20 per inbox per day. 20 new people per inbox per day, and then that's you do.
There you go. So if you want 2,000 sends, it's what is it? 100 inboxes.
That's right.
Boom, bada boom. And
then people realize, actually, I don't need to go that fast through my market. And then they downsize, which is cool.
Yeah, anyway. I love it. Okay, let's carry on. Jeremy, why does Sales Navigator give incorrect data sometimes? I have to take this one because I
got the answer.
I get very frustrated.
I'll just ask my friend Jack. So
what do you say? Okay, so Jack would say that there is one major flaw with Sales Navigator person data. So I'm not talking about looking at accounts, I'm talking about looking at people. So whether you one by one add companies, which I recommend, or just do like a blanket industry, like marketing, advertising, legal, whatever, and then a job title, you now have asked LinkedIn to do 2 things that can conflict with each other. I'll give you an example. If you type in, show me marketing, advertising, and then founders, many people have more than one current position. So you could be the founder of a marketing agency and the chair of a nonprofit organization. But because you have selected, let's say, marketing, advertising, and founder, that person is going to show up on the results. Now, what also will happen is if we have a junior sales director at a marketing company, they're junior salesperson at a marketing company, they should not come up in your search for founders of marketing, but they will if their second role
is a founder
is founder
fake company or like
of
a project on the side. Yeah, it's so annoying.
Yeah, founder at sidehustle.com. It will show that person as founder of Mark. And what a pain in the ass is it to comb through this data. It's just, it's frustrating because there's a very clear way to fix that. Just don't, have like current title for current role, whatever. But they haven't fixed that. And right now we've got to go through it. I've experimented with a lot of ways to clean up the data, from using VAs to some paid hacky tools that I won't mention because I don't know how on the up and up they are, but you got to comb through it. What can I say? Thanks, Sales Navigator.
Yeah, good one.
And we still have to use it. We still have to use it because it still can be very powerful.
That could be like obviously a different episode, but I wonder how interesting there will be to like every one that comes, you sort of like double check with AngelList or whatever, where, you can have like some other filters, and then suddenly if that person appear in both lists, then it's legit as a founder, and then you can move on, that sort of thing. Because so many people
that's really cool.
Vanity founder, I would call them. Like, they just put like one title. Yeah, I've been founder for 16 years, but I've been also employee for 16 years. It's like, which one?
Yeah. And by the way, you've nailed it. Like the results get the most murky when you're reaching out to founders or CEOs, because that's a nice title that vanity. A lot of people want to give themselves. Yep. Okay. So if you listen this far to the rapid episode, you want to check out course.quickmail.io. It is the follow-up conversation and the brain dump for everything we've been teaching in one place on cold email. So check it out. There's a nice little refund policy because we believe in it. And that's that. Jeremy.
Brings you from zero to hero. Definitely.
Zero to hero.
Get it for you or your team. If you want results,
brilliant.
Go for it.
All right. Course.quickman.io. Jeremy, thank you for a not so rapid fire episode.
There was no more question? I thought there was one more.
No, it's no more question.
Oh man,
that's it.
Okay, fine. Okay, I thought like you're building up the suspense for the last question.
I should have. Next rapid fire. Until then,
all right.
See you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jack.
Bye.
Awesome. Bye.
You bet. Bye.